time. I just love talking about the stats. And so do you, which is great. I think you're the only person that I know that geeks out as much as I do.
So we're both crazy.
I think so.
Got it. All right.
Well, yeah. Okay. So let's go. So
yes.
400 homes sold in April.
You did.
Which is really good.
That's not bad, yeah.
No, that's good. Better than last month. Yep.
Yeah.
But almost half of them sold under asking. So how is it still a seller's market if that many homes are still selling under asking?
Because there's 3 lies in the world. Lies, damn lies, and statistics. So if you play with the statistics, that's what shows. So when we do months of inventory, that's what we say determines a buyer or a seller's market.
Yep.
So less than 5 months of inventory means seller's market. 5 to 7 balanced, 7 and above buyers. We haven't been a buyer's market for 7 years based on the stats.
Yes.
Because the way you do months of inventory is right now today, how many homes are for sale and how many did we sell?
Yep.
800 and make life easy. 800 homes for sale, 400 sold, 800 divided by 400, 2 months.
Yep.
2 months is less than 5 months, seller's market by definition. But the question is, does it feel like a seller's market? Well, not when you're going to the sellers and saying, okay, we've had 15 viewings, we've been 4 weeks on the market, nobody's written us an offer. So what does a buyer not like? It's either price, condition, location. Those are the only 3 things that sell a house.
Yep.
So then you start saying, well, we can't change the location, we can change the condition, but it's going to cost money. So what's the third one? We'll play with the price.
Yep.
And that's why you see things being underneath asking price, even though we say, by definition, seller's market.
I know. It's a seller's market with a buyer mentality.
Exactly.
And
yes.
I've said that.
To everybody.
I know. Anybody who'll listen.
Anybody who'll listen, yeah. Let me tell you the way this works.
So you have the Timberlea, St. Margaret's Bay.
Yeah.
They are showing the highest volumes in April.
And have done pretty much every month. They're always top 1 or 2.
So why do you think that?
Well, it's a fairly large area.
Yeah.
When you bring Upper Tantallon, St. Margaret's Bay has definitely got some new construction with Raymar going on in there as well. And people do like the new construction because we don't have many new construction areas in a price point that a lot of buyers are like, that's sensible. I'll pay that number for new construction.
Yes.
So I think with the new construction being attractive through Raymar down in that area just off St. Margaret's Bay Road, then St. Margaret's Bay itself is a big area. Then you bring in Upper Tantallon as well, which is pretty popular from an everything point of view, Westwood Hills. But then you've also got Stillwater Lake is in that subdivision as well. So I think it's just a lot of houses are actually for sale. So there's a lot of choice, which means more buyers are going to go there and look at it.
No, I would agree. I think we need to change our districts, but that's another topic for another day.
That's a long topic.
Yeah, but they would have had 34 homes, and the next after that was Beaver Bank, the Sackville area, and Beaver Bank. They each had about 31 homes to sell.
Yeah. So the Beaver Bank Upper Sackville, again, let's talk about relating to MLS subdivision districts.
Yeah.
That's also Indigo Shores.
Yes.
Indigo Shores is not Beaver Bank Upper Sackville. It's Middle Sackville.
Yes.
It's just where that boundary line is to call it an MLS district. They put it in with Beaver Bank and Upper Sackville. And you're like, how is Beaver Bank and Upper Sackville so popular that it's coming number 2 on the list?
I know, it's
because
crazy.
Indigo Shores is in there, and they were the ones that sold like 11 homes, of which there were some pricey ones sold as well.
Yep.
Because if you look at the average price for Beaver Bank Upper Sackville at like 700, you're like, no.
Oh, I know, it's crazy.
Beaver Bank Upper Sackville selling for 700? That's not right. And then Lower Sackville, of course, is the popular spot because average price is like 520, 545, something like that. And that's right in the sweet spot of affordability for pretty much everybody who's looking for houses.
So why do you think there are, I'm just looking at my stats here now, like a seller's market, there's been, 150 price drops almost every month.
Yeah.
So why do you think that is?
Yeah, so I've been looking at a lot of the price drops, who's doing them, and some of the price drops are certainly in higher price points.
Yep.
And I know that some of the deals that we've been getting for our buyers, if we're going to get like 50 to 100 to 150,000 off a price point, it's because we're shopping over $1 million. So it feels a little easier for a seller to go, okay, well, if you're a solid buyer and you're going to write an offer on my home, good condition dates, not asking for the world in terms of a closing date, then okay, I'll play the game and I'll give you $150,000 off the price. But when you get into the lower, let's say 5 to 800,000 range, those ones seem to be still doing some price drops, but they're not the big numbers.
No,
they're
of
like
course not.
15 to 20s. And I think what happens then is for the last few years, we've all been saying it's been a seller's market. We've got no buyers. Oh my God, we're going to have a field day when we put this on the market. We'll hold all offers. We've been doing all this strategy. And unfortunately, we've been saying it for quite a few years. Sellers have listened to that and said, great. So I want to put my house at like 875, even though you say it's only worth 850. Let's try the 875. So what happens then, of course, is 14 days on market. We've had 15 viewings. Nobody's writing us an offer. We're going to have to adjust the price. Oh, okay, let's go down to the price we suggested at the beginning, 850. Lo and behold, somebody brings an offer then at 840, negotiate a little bit, 845, 847 is where you sell, and it's only $2,000-$3,000 less than the listing price.
Do you remember back in the day before COVID, I knew I was going to house, it was selling for 97% of asking price.
Yeah.
Are you seeing that now?
Not really. Right now, we're kind of at that like 99.2 to 100.1%.
But in a certain price point, you're not seeing that yet.
Exactly, yeah. Like you get into that sweet spot, like you were saying, of that 5 to 700, that's kind of our sweet spot. Whereas back in the day, sweet spot used to be like 3 to 500. Now it's 5 to 700. And I think that's just a shift in the market from everything that went on during COVID with so many people wanting to move here. That naturally brought the price up. And then everybody's kind of said, yeah, but that's now the new norm.
Yes.
We're not going down to an average price point like from 6-7 years ago of 380. I'm like,
no, God, no. Oh my God.
That's never going to happen.
I remember when I first started, it was 265 was the average price
Should have
point.
bought everything we could have.
I know.
Leverage to the hilt. Buy everything.
And I got to deal with people. So more inventory is coming to the market.
Definitely.
But it's still only, I think on average, it's still only around 65% of what's listing is selling.
Yeah. And that's, again, this is coming down to that sweet spot of the buyers and what the buyers feel is value for money in the areas that they're shopping in. So your value for money in Indigo Shores is very different value for money in Lower Sackville.
Of course.
Two totally different areas. So then the buyers are starting to actually go, well, I want to buy more in those areas where I can afford it. So if you look at Lower Sackville, they're like 0.8 months of inventory. It's like, they're selling 30 homes and there's 32 for sale.
Yep.
And then that happens every single month after month. Whereas you look at some of the higher price points, you go to Indigo Shores, the Four Rivers, the Hammonds Plains, to some extent the Upper Tantallons. And those are the ones that like the houses stick around longer. So you're looking at like 90 homes for sale and they only sold 30.
So do you think that it's been the elections maybe holding people off? Do you think it's been tariffs holding people off?
Yeah, funnily enough, Jane was like, do you feel that tariffs, she asked me that question this morning. I'm like, I don't feel tariffs are holding people back, but I think the uncertainty of tariff combined with the election, that has definitely slowed April down in terms of like, should we have done more deals? Because April did feel busy in terms of the activity, the people you were talking to, the amount of houses that were actually listed in April. But combine the tariff uncertainty with the election, and then everyone went, I'm just going to push pause for a little bit and see what happens, and then I'll talk to you again like in May. And then all of a sudden, May is like, okay, we've got conversations like crazy with people saying, I want to list my home, I want to buy a home. So I think May, June, July are going to be a lot busier than May, June, July last year.
But so May, June, July, or April to July was good.
Yeah.
Then it died.
Yes.
And didn't pick back up again until the end of September or October.
Yeah.
And then it just plummeted again.
Yeah.
Like, what was because I know you and I do stats all the time, but I wrote it down. So last year at this time, there were 1,170 single-family homes sold between January and April.
Yeah.
This year, there's only 1,191, so it's not that big of a difference.
It's not that much, no. And even ignore the difference in the price.
Like
if
20
you
homes.
look at, ignore the difference in price. Look at the number of homes sold, the number of homes listed, the days on market, the months of inventory. It's pretty much the same as it was April last year for April this year.
I agree.
The only difference is price went up.
Yes, but Is it the price that went up, or is it just the product that's what's selling?
Product that's selling, is my opinion. Like I looked at, like if you say, okay, let's draw a line and look at everything over $1 million. And there's like 32 homes out of the 400 that sold were over $1 million.
And only
some of
four
them,
over 2.
Yeah, and some of them were big numbers. Now, if we're only selling 400 homes, it's not going to take a lot of homes over $1 million to just pull everything up that little $20,000, $30,000.
Especially there wasn't their home like 3 million that sold last month.
Yeah, down in the South End somewhere. Yeah. And again,
that was on the market for over 800 days, by the way. Yeah.
I wonder if somebody got a deal. Maybe.
No, they didn't.
Oh, really?
No.
List to sale price was pretty much the same.
Yeah, it was really close because I
Development opportunity?
No. Beautiful home. Just,
wow.
where it is in the, it's on the Purcell's Cove side.
Right. Yes. Yeah, on the Northwest Arm.
Yeah. Beautiful home, but that 860,
800 days.
Yeah, I think it was 865 days because I looked it up and I mean, God love the seller for having the patience.
That's a long time. Long time.
So I don't see our market being much different than it was last year. Yeah.
I think the only difference is going to be that price point. And I'm hoping that April was just a blip because I'm like $660,000 average price. Yeah. That's a lot.
But again, it was bought up by
millions. There was ones over $1 million.
I think in April there were 2 homes that sold over 2 million. One of them was the 300,000 or 3 million.
Yeah.
That just jacked everything up.
Yeah.
Because again, the sweet spot is 500 to 600.
Yeah.
And then the next one is 6 to 7, I believe is the next sweet spot.
Yeah.
So, you and I have been doing this for a long time, and I just think we're going back to normal. Like, I think will we go back to 6 months of inventory again?
I don't think we're going to get that high.
I don't think so either.
No. I mean, we've been so long in this kind of 1.5 to 2 months level, and it just seems to be bouncing around that number. So it's the only way we're going to change that is either we sell a lot less. I mean, 400 homes in April is a decent number for the population and the amount of houses that were listed. But we'd need to almost say, well, let's drop that down to 200, but let's put another 1,000 homes up for sale. Yeah, that's not
What do you think is stopping people from putting their homes up apart from, where to go? I mean, is that the only caveat that we're seeing?
And I think also mortgages. I think there's some people that are sitting there with rather a large amount of equity in their homes and also with crazy either low interest rates or low value mortgages. And I think those are the ones that are kind of looking at what they would now have to pay and going...
And for probably a lesser product.
For a lesser product, definitely, yeah. Because they're sitting there with all this equity and they're like, well, that's, let's be honest, a lot of people in Nova Scotia are probably saying the house is probably a lot of their retirement equity fund.
Yes.
And then like, great, well, if I cash that out now and then use it or put it in a bank or a GIC or something and get pretty much zero return on my money, my only other option then is I have to go and buy something that, from my mentality as a seller who owns a house for like 20 years or something and has got all this equity and I've got the house set up perfectly as I want it. And then I start looking at what I'm going to have to buy for 500 to 600 and I'm like, not that impressed, sorry.
No, and that's true.
They'll be like, I'm not that impressed, so I'm going to say no. And by the way, I don't actually want to go and pay $3,000 a month for a 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom rental either, thanks very much. Because I've had my own home. I don't want to go and live in a rental now if that's the only other option available to me. So I think they're just going, it's just not worth it.
So we talked about the sweet spot between 500 to 700. Yeah. Why is that the sweet spot, you think?
Affordability. People can look at the mortgage on a $500,000 to $700,000. Let's say they're doing a 20% down payment. They're looking at that monthly payment going, I can do that. I'd rather do less, but if I drop down under 5, they're looking at what they can get for 450, 475 and going, yeah, but I'll stretch that extra 50 to 100 because what I get for the extra 50, 100 is so much nicer.
So now I lost my train of thought. With the my total train of thought now, Richard just went, and how often does that happen?
once a day, maybe. It all depends.
Yeah, no, it depends. Do you feel that buyer expectations have changed?
Yes.
Okay, tell me what you're saying.
Oh, some of the conversations I'm having with people because whenever we're talking to buyers, we start with that like, okay, well, so tell me what you're looking for, tell me the bedrooms, tell me the size of the house, the gardens, now get into location, and you're kind of just feeling, and then you're like, okay, great, and what's the budget? And that's when they're like, oh, I want all of that for 450. And you're like, no, sorry, like can't be done.
No,
and I think
it's difficult.
What they're looking for versus the reality. And that's why the best thing always for anybody is have that conversation first before you then start showing them houses. Because if you don't match the expectation to the budget, you're going to have a really hard time dealing with those buyers and trying to find us something.
And you can't have what your parents have now.
No.
They grew into that.
Because they're the ones with the who knows how many hundreds of thousands of dollars of equity as well.
Yeah.
And I think also I've found, maybe it's my generation, 53 now, when we bought our first house at 25, you would buy whatever it was because you just wanted a home and you would sweat equity into it.
Yep.
I'm finding a lot of people now, certainly in that kind of 25 to 35 range, they're like, no, I don't want to do anything. I want it perfect and I want it done for me. And I'm like, but that is a killer deal. And you should definitely go for that. And then build up some equity, do some work every now and again, figure out how to do things yourself, flooring and drywall and painting and not necessarily a kitchen, but some things are not that hard to do. And there's this wonderful thing called YouTube that will teach you how to do it, but they just don't want to.
Well, I mean, don't want to, don't have time.
Time's a big thing, I suppose.
Time's a big thing, and just not. Yeah, I mean, most young buyers do want key turn, but unfortunately, I mean, back in the day, like a $500,000 home was and you didn't say it as a $500,000 home. You said that's a $500,000 home because that sounds more.
Yes.
And you walked in, and it was incredible.
Yeah. It had been looked after, cared for, showed brilliantly, had all the modern stuff that you were looking for. Whereas now it's like, okay, if you want that, it's called new construction and we're paying $750.
Yes.
So like, which way do you want to go here?
But you know what though, you can get new construction in Stewiacke for under 600. Yeah. But that's Stewiacke.
And also Kiln Creek, which is Elmsdale Enfield Lance, that new subdivision off the junction there. If you want new construction, they were doing, I think, $499 for a middle of terrace.
Yeah.
Whether that's still the case now, that was last year, so probably not.
But I mean, you can get, if you're willing to do the drive, you can get it. But that'd be no different than someone living in New York City. If you want to have a reasonable priced home, you're living out in the burbs and you are traveling.
Commuting for an hour or something like that.
Or more.
Yeah, but at least here, if you're commuting for an hour here, that's a lot of kilometers because there's no real traffic.
No.
So it's not difficult commuting an hour, but people go, ooh, an hour, I don't know.
That's so funny because we're so different than Toronto, right? Like people, living in the GTA, like them traveling for an hour. Yeah, okay. Here, are you kidding me?
Yeah, an hour?
Yeah. Oh,
So then it comes down to, well, what do you want for your money? Give something up to get what you actually really want. So if the commute's a really important thing, you're going to have to pay for it. Yeah. If the house and the location if the house is important but the location isn't, and you're prepared to drive an hour, well, okay, we can absolutely get you that house.
Oh yeah.
For that money as well.
And I think you're getting it for under 500.
Yeah.
An hour.
Yeah.
Minimum outside.
It's not too bad.
No. So I think, I know we talk about affordability, and I don't know if a lot of that's directed at rents but.
Right.
But the average Nova Scotian, the average household income is around 110, which makes that $500,000 home, let's say 475 out time your debt service ratio. They are there.
Yeah.
They're just not convenient.
Exactly. Location wise. Yeah.
Yeah. Which is unfortunate.
But again, that's just one of those factors that it's like, decide which are the really important things. If having a brand new home or a home that you can just move into and not have to lift a finger, maybe you have to repaint something, but that's it. Well, understand there's a cost to that.
Yeah.
Therefore, if you want that, well, the decrease in your cost is you're going to have to drive an hour commute and afford it that way.
Yeah.
Can't have all of your cake. You can have 9/8 of the cake, just not all of it.
Okay, Richard, you know what I'm like.
I know what you're like.
Yeah. So if you had to put our market out 5 years from now,
5 years.
I don't know, status quo, same we are now, just prices going up.
Yeah, I think I can't
Can I
see
stop
as,
you?
yes, you can.
I don't think we're going to see, because I was asked the other day with all of Nova Scotia, do you see our market going up by 4%? No. So I think all of Nova Scotia, maybe, but our Halifax market by 2%, not going to happen.
Yeah, it's too much because if we're already at like 660,000 and you say, great, we're going to go up by 2-3% over the next 4 or 5 years, all of a sudden it's not that difficult to say, now our average is what, 750, 800?
Yeah.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah, I think, before COVID, like it was normal for me to go in and sit with a seller.
Yeah.
Your house appreciated by 2% each year.
Yeah.
And I don't see that being any different.
Yeah. Yeah, I think a lot of the conversations with buyers today has to be, tell me a little bit about how long you think you're staying in this house. Because I've definitely done a couple of deals this year where I'm like, please don't come to me in 1 to 2 years time and be like, I've changed my mind, I want to move to wherever.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, listen, what we paid for this, by the time you factor in realtor fees and any kind of an appreciation, I'm like, there's no real equity in this first 1 to 2 years here in this house.
No.
It's got to be 5, maybe even 7 before you actually see something of like, okay, there's an appreciation there.
Yeah.
Because it feels like a lot of our appreciation was done in that 2021, 22 years.
Yep. Oh, I agree with you wholeheartedly.
We went up so high, so fast that I'm like, you can't keep pushing double-digit appreciations on a $660,000 average price.
No, I'm with you. When I see someone, a COVID purchaser, needing to sell, it's an anxiety.
Yeah.
Because I know that
this is not going to be an easy conversation.
No, and I wish realtors would stop saying the market's hot. Like, it's not. It's
kind of like we go back to the original conversation at the start that we just had. It's like, well, the stats show we're a seller's market, but the feeling is not.
Yep. See, this is why we get along.
Yeah, because we think the same. Yeah.
Anyway, I want to thank you for coming out.
No problem.
And again, you're the only other agent who loves the geeky stats.
Yeah.
But I think it's important. Like, it's not just about, I said to, another agent that I interviewed today, it's not about being cute on Instagram.
No.
It's about being the knowledge agent.
Absolutely.
And I think that's what's going to make any real estate agent stand out this year.
Yeah.
Is being,
knowledgeable about your product, which is the market.
Yep, absolutely, 100%.
Indeed.
Well, thank you for coming out today.
No problem. Good to see you.
Yes.